wheel, and Cherwell District Council agreed to pay the full amount of damage. See? So lots of councils are doing this.
David, I like your style as well, you know, because a lot of people just suck it up. I like that you didn't, I like that you persevered, and I like that you got an outcome. I like positivity, you know, so if anyone else has got any of those stories, let me know. We're going to create an influx now of people trying to make claims against their councils. I might get in trouble for this, but I'm fascinated to see how you're getting on. Do tell me.
Yeah, too right. I mean, he should be doing it. Well done, David. For 300 quid, I'd certainly ask a few questions, send a few emails. But...
Well, yeah, because otherwise you're claiming on your insurance, yet then you're getting a higher excess the next time around. You're potentially going to lose your no claims bonus and all the rest of it. It's not on.
Yeah. Right, 17 minutes past 12. Time now for the Great British Giveaway. Not 300 quid from Cherwell District Council, but actually £92,000. It includes 25 grand in tax-free cash, plus the four-berth camper van.
Oh,
should be nice.
Let me tell you, I love a camper. I can't enter. I love a camper van.
No, you can't, but you can, and here are all the details you need.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. Alloy wheels, solar panel, electric step, and plenty of storage space. Plus, it comfortably sleeps 4 people. It's the ultimate home from home. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. It's a prize package worth over £92,000, and it could be yours. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh, that's me gone now. I'm in my own little world. Imagine being in a camper van on a beach with a Are you a camper van kind of guy?
Not just normal camping.
Are you? With a tent, you're a tent man.
Or even just a you know, tarpaulin.
Oh, a bit of tarpaulin. Oh, he's roughing it. I like that.
You know me.
I like that. I like that. People don't go camping enough, if you ask me. Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We've got so much coming up on today's programme. We've got Wes Streeting's going to give an update on meningitis, but we've also got...
An extraordinary story. A couple whose attempts to make their home energy efficiency ended up making the house actually unsellable. The screen might say Trump slams UK. He's yet to comment on this one specifically, but perhaps he will. He says so much about us these days, doesn't he, Michelle?
You know, anything can come out of his mouth. Don't you worry about that. Anyway, you've got all of that and so much more to come with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Ask you though about this measles increase and why it is happening, why this outbreak, and why so many people are unvaccinated.
Well, it's a worry. Measles is not a trivial infection, as you well know. It can cause nasty illnesses.
Did you have it as a kid?
I did.
Yeah,
I did, as well, and my son had it as well.
But Ellie hasn't.
No, I was vaccinated.
Good.
As a
well,
newborn.
vaccination is very, very effective and very safe, and most children are vaccinated now. But we've had falling rates of vaccination in the last decade, particularly in some areas of the country where it's it's gone down to below where Afghanistan and Malawi's vaccination rates are recorded at. So this is a worry, because unless you're vaccinating 95% of children, the risk of an outbreak is very strong. And that's happening now in Enfield and other places in North London. 34 children have come down with measles already. One infected child can spread it to 18 others. They'll have to be off school for up to 21 days, which is the incubation period.
So long.
But most importantly, measles can kill people. It can cause meningitis, it can cause pneumonia, it can cause ear infections. It's not always a trivial illness. At the best of times, it causes fever, it causes earache, a streaming nose, a raging sore throat. It's horrible. Nobody needs it. But we've got vaccine hesitancy because it's easy to scare people about vaccine.
Well, how do you unscare people? How do you take that hesitancy away?
What you need to do is to get into communities and explain why vaccination is safe and effective, how 100 years ago, 1 in 5 children under the age of 5 died of these common infections, and we've eradicated all that, or we should have eradicated it all.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain with me, Charlie.
And me, Michelle Dewberry.
What a treat. Right, a couple that spent £40,000 making their home eco-friendly have said they now can't sell it because it's been given a terrible energy efficiency rating.
Yeah, Tori McKillen and her husband, Mahinda Mehta, installed an energy-efficient electric boiler, double glazing, cavity wall insulation, you name it, right? Imagine, ladies and gents, you're sitting there, you're trying to do all the right things, tick all the right boxes, spending an absolute small fortune. What energy rating would you imagine that you get? I can guarantee it wouldn't be an F, which is what this family got.
And that means that most mortgage providers won't lend to buyers for homes with such a low rating. We're joined now by the homeowner, Tori McKillen. Tori, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. What a pickle you're in. I'm so sorry about this situation. The government say that most homes need to be at least the rating of C. How has it all gone so wrong?
Yeah, well, very good question. So our experience, we've owned our home and lived in it for over 20 years, and over that period, so we haven't spent 40,000 all in one go. Over that period, we've made modest improvements with insulation, double glazing windows, as Michelle has said, low energy lighting. In 2008, we opted for spray foam insulation in our loft, which at the time was recommended. But more recently, as I'm sure you all know, that's fallen out of favour, and many UK mortgage lenders won't lend on properties with spray foam insulation. So as we were readying to sell, we opted to have ours removed. Discovering that the type of insulation we had, we ended up needing a re-roof. So that was probably quite a significant cost in our energy improvements. But it was only when we started to get our photographs and our EPC done for selling the property that we realised that the energy performance rating, the energy efficiency improvements we had made were undermined really by choosing electric to heat our home and water, which we obviously thought with the drive for electric and move towards net zero, we thought electric would be a better choice for us because we were previously on oil. We're not in an area where we can access gas. And this is when we had our boiler change. This is over 10 years ago. So heat pumps weren't really on the radar. Solar was still very expensive. But we opted to go to an electric boiler that would heat our wet central heating system, instant hot water heating. And we've got an economy 10 meter, which gives us 10 hours of cut price electricity, 5 of those during the day. And we did all the necessary improvements in terms of the insulation and all those aspects as well. So we were really disappointed to discover that we got an F, which, you know, screams fail on our EPC rating, and that's when we realised that mortgage lenders question that. We wouldn't be able to rent it if we wanted to rent it. The EPC doesn't actually reflect the reality of the energy efficiency of our property or the cost to heat it.
So what happens now then?
Very good question. We have been going back and forward trying to get the assessor to review it. They have reviewed their first rating where they'd made several assumptions that were incorrect, and we were able to provide additional information. We are 1 point shy of an E. And I've been going back asking for some simple advice in terms of, look, if we add an extra 100 mil of insulation in the loft, will that get us up? But they can't give us any modest advice. They keep referring to the advice in the EPC, which is solar panels, wind turbines, things that we're obviously not in a position now to do. So again, I really wanted to raise the issue because I think the fundamental challenge is it seems to be a very subjective assessment. The assessors can be trained 3 to 5 days to come out and enter the information into an algorithm. It doesn't take account of it doesn't favour electric and cleaner energy. I did ask a question, look, if we swap out our electric boiler for a heat pump, would that help? And they're like, well, we wouldn't recommend a heat pump because that runs on electric. So it kind of smacked of all these initiatives that the government are promoting are really not going to help us if we want to improve our rating. So we are just trying to get some answers and trying to get some help. It also doesn't take into account that we have 10 hours of cut price electricity. That's not factored into the algorithm, apparently. So it's really a challenge to just understand, what is driving this? What's the direction of this if we're thinking about net zero in X number of years' time?
Tori, one of our commentators on gbnews.com/YourSay has just said, in reaction to what you're describing, your situation, doesn't this just prove that it's all a scam? I mean, is that how it feels to you, having done all this work?
It doesn't feel like the work we've done is a scam, I have to say. Obviously, with the spray foam insulation, the information at the time, because we're very good at researching things before we jump in, we haven't just willy-nilly followed the advice. And actually our spray foam insulation was good. We didn't have mold, it wasn't wet. But because of this kind of blanket approach to spray foam insulation is now bad. That's the message that is out there. So there are some things that perhaps the guidance has changed and the opinion is now different. So how do we know what it will be in 5 years? But for me, the fundamental issue is the flaws in the EPC. It's how they're assessing, how they're calculating, the subjective nature of it, and the kind of recommendations. I think that's the message. I don't think it's about scams. It's certainly, 20 years we've been across multiple governments, so it's not about any single government. It's kind of really the direction of travel of these initiatives and when they're going to recognise the cleaner energy that many of us are striving. The drive for electric cars, yet the drive for electric as an option to heat your home doesn't seem to be as promoted or encouraged, and certainly we can't avail of the discounts that electric car buyers would get in their unit price of electricity, despite the fact we're fully electric.
And speaking of being fully electric, just before you go, Tori, just tell our viewers, because obviously you used to be on oil, just tell the viewers what was happening with your oil.
So we realised on a couple of occasions that we'd had our oil stolen. And we didn't realise initially, because it's very clever. From what I understand, is there are tankers that follow the delivery vehicle, so they know when deliveries are being made. They'd rock up a couple of weeks or a week later, maybe, in a van that looks like a legitimate oil delivery. And they would siphon the oil, but they'd leave you enough that you wouldn't notice. So we wouldn't notice for 2 weeks, and they're like, how could we have gone through a whole tank of oil? And this happened a couple of times, which was obviously increasing our unit price of oil, which is why we went for electric.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Well, we wish you all the very best with it. We'll follow your story and hopefully you do get a positive outcome at the end of it all. But for now, Tori McKellen, thank you for sharing your story with the GB News viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Michelle, Tori has to laugh there, really, because it's just such an...
I couldn't believe that last bit. I just couldn't believe it.
Dealing with the thieves. Right, well, we do have some responses to bring you. Last month, the couple's local MP, Pippa Heylings, asked in the Commons when the government planned to introduce reforms to the energy performance certificate. The government said they were analysing the feedback to a consultation they'd held and would publish a response in due course. They're always being published in due course.
Oh, there's always a consultation going on somewhere about something. I don't know who they consult, by the way, because some of these consultations and all the rest of it, they come out. You say, well, that makes no sense. It has no bearing to what most people think.
A lot of the consultations, only sort of activists engage them because only they know what's going on. That's how it works, I think, a lot of the time. Right, you're watching Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show. Yes, indeed. Later on, we're expecting Rachel Reeves to give a speech in which she's going to call for, get this, closer alignment with the EU. We've also got imminently an update from Wes Streeting on that situation with meningitis B. But first, your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 12:30, the top story this afternoon. Israel's defence minister says one of Iran's most powerful figures, Ali Larijani, has been killed in overnight strikes. He was a key architect of Iran's security and nuclear strategy, making this, if confirmed, one of the most significant blows to Iran's leadership since the war began. Iran has not verified the deaths, but Israel has vowed to continue targeting senior Iranian figures. Here, health officials say meningitis B is behind the deadly outbreak in Kent that has killed 2 young people. The strain isn't covered by routine NHS vaccination for many students, meaning thousands are now being offered precautionary antibiotics. Schools and the University of Kent have also cancelled some in-person exams. Rachel Reeves has pledged to make Britain the fastest adopter of artificial intelligence in the G7 as she unveils a plan to boost the UK's struggling economy. In a major speech, the Chancellor is expected to announce £2.5 billion for advanced computing and set out priorities including closer EU ties, AI expansion and growth across the country. Plans to move English language tests for UK visa applicants fully online have raised concerns over fraud and security. Experts are warning that remote exams could allow cheating and impersonation, but the Home Office insists any system will meet the highest standards. And the cost of fixing pothole-plagued roads in England and Wales has reached a record £18.6 billion. Campaigners are calling the situation a national disgrace. A new report says roads are resurfaced on average once every 97 years, with just over half the network considered to be in a good condition. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you for the news at 1.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a blustery day out there, particularly for the far northwest, where there will be outbreaks of occasionally heavy rain. Meanwhile, winds begin to ease elsewhere. The cloud breaks up. We'll see decent spells of sunshine for the southern half of the UK. At the moment, we're in between a warm front and a cold front. For many parts of the UK, that means it's dry and it's mild with a southerly breeze. That's helping to break up the cloud across England and Wales, away from coastal areas predominantly. Plenty of sunshine then emerging. Scotland and Northern Ireland, a different story. Here it's windy and a lot of cloud will remain. Will also be these heavy spells of rain pushing into the west of Scotland, western parts of Northern Ireland, making it feel unpleasant with a strong wind in these locations. Further south, temperatures responding well to the sunshine with mid-teens fairly widely. The rain remains in place into the evening across much of western Scotland, fringing upon central parts of Scotland, not quite reaching Glasgow and Edinburgh, but it's starting to affect parts of Northern Ireland towards the east, Belfast included. Areas of cloud into parts of Wales and the far southwest. Otherwise, it's clear spells across the Midlands, the east and southeast of England, and that remains the case overnight. It's going to be a chilly night as a result, with winds easing, and as temperatures fall away, some mist and fog patches will form for large parts of England and Wales. Clearer skies as well for the north of Scotland, but in between we've got this area of cloud, the legacy of the weather front that is bringing the wet weather to the northwest during Tuesday. That's going to remain across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland throughout much of Wednesday. A few spots of rain, but it's a weakening feature. To the north, a lot of sunshine, just the odd shower, and across much of England and Wales, it's a beautiful day. Spring sunshine widely, temperatures reaching 18 to 20 Celsius.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A55 at Britannia Bridge, a 30 miles per hour speed limit has been implemented until further notice. In Tameside, drivers should expect slow travel on the A57 westbound between the A628 and the M67, with delays averaging around 10 minutes. In Lincolnshire, the A46 northbound between the A1434 and the A57 is closed in both directions due to a serious road traffic crash. Meanwhile, on the trains, both Avanti West Coast and Cross Country are experiencing major disruptions at Glasgow Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. You're watching GB News with me, Charlie Peters,
and me, Michelle Dewberry.
Right, we're waiting
air indoors, air indoors.
If you're watching and you think you might have just finished your work shift and it's 6 o'clock, don't worry, that treat is still to come later. This is just an extra early serving. Right, we are expecting the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, very shortly for an update from the House of Commons. Before we go to Parliament, let's catch up with our national reporter, Will Godley, who joins us in the studio because the Prime Minister's spokesperson has just given an update on the political stance to this crisis, Will?
Absolutely, yeah. Politicians facing criticism that the authorities didn't act quickly enough. The authorities being the UK Health Security Agency. The Prime Minister was asked whether he has confidence in that agency. And he, the spokesperson, very quickly replied, saying yes, he does, and some lines from the Prime Minister's spokesperson to come from this meeting, saying the reason for the delay is that they had to move quickly, but they didn't want to. They said there's a short period between someone being admitted and a formal notification, which is when the authorities begin that public health action. So despite the fact students might have heard in WhatsApp groups or on social media that people have been becoming ill with this disease, it takes a while for that formal identification process to take place, which then kicks in the health response. And the UK HSA, they say, was notified of a cluster of cases late on Saturday. The Prime Minister's spokesperson say they acted immediately, began contacting those at risk on Saturday evening and Sunday. The Prime Minister's spokesperson also saying they acted as soon as it's notified of clinically suspected cases by hospitals. Once patterns became clearer, they moved quickly to identify contacts and put precautionary measures in place, including offering antibiotics, which are an extremely effective treatment for bacterial meningitis. And so the Prime Minister's spokesperson saying this is how these systems are designed to work, saying this shows we should have confidence in those systems, and those precautionary antibiotics are now being given out to people in Kent at 4 sites now.
Well, you say that. One of our viewers, Fred, he's just got in touch saying, Michelle, I'm a little bit worried about supply of antibiotics. He's flagging back in the COVID days where we didn't have enough PPE and all the rest of it. He's wondering whether or not we've got enough of this medicine.
That's certainly a concern that people will be having. And when I was there yesterday, students were being handed 1 pill. So it's not like there's a course where people have to take 24 or 7 pills. They just take 1 pill, and that's enough of a precautionary antibiotic. So hopefully that can help some of the concerns about supply. We know that the UK HSA has contacted some 30,000 people in the area. A number of them will be told to come forward to receive this antibiotic, particularly people in 2 specific accommodation blocks at the university, people in year 13 in those 3 different schools in Kent, plus anybody who's suspected of being in close contact with anybody showing signs.
Sorry, Will, we've just got an update from Wes Streeting. That's listening in.
make a statement on the outbreak of meningococcal disease in Canterbury and East Kent. My thoughts, and I'm sure the thoughts of the entire House, will be with the families and friends of those two young people who've sadly died. I cannot begin to understand what they must be going through. This is an unprecedented outbreak. It is also a rapidly developing situation. With these considerations in mind, Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely paramount that we stick to the facts, which is what I intend to do. This is the current situation. As of 9:30 this morning, UKHSA has confirmed 4 cases of Group B meningococcal disease, with another 11 cases under investigation. The 2 deaths are associated with this cluster. The majority of cases link back to the Club Chemistry nightclub over the dates of the 5th, 6th and 7th of March and their associated networks. Club Chemistry is currently closed voluntarily.
Is my mic off, all right?
Going forward, Mr. Speaker, these figures will be updated publicly by UKHSA each day at 9:30 a.m. Let me now turn to the timeline of this outbreak. UKHSA was notified about the first case on Friday, the 13th of March. In line with established protocol, health officials began identifying and tracing the patient's immediate close contacts who were offered prophylactic antibiotics as a matter of urgency. On Saturday, UKHSA were in touch with the University of Kent to ensure they had the necessary support, advice and guidance, and to establish where the patient was living. Also on Saturday, the French authorities alerted UKHSA to a second confirmed case in France from an individual who had attended the University of Kent. Both cases lived in private accommodation, and at that stage, there was no apparent link between the two. At 7 p.m. on Saturday evening, hospitals reported that a number of severely unwell young adults were presenting with symptoms consistent with meningococcal disease. Contact tracing of these individuals began immediately and continued into Sunday morning, March the 15th. All those traced were offered precautionary antibiotics. So far, 700 doses have been administered. Recognising the scale of the potential outbreak, at 10 a.m. on Sunday, UKHSA stood up a full-scale response, including preparations for more widespread distribution of antibiotics on campus. By 5 p.m. on Sunday, those antibiotics were in place and distribution began to students in the 2 halls of residence where we were aware of cases, and by 6 p.m. a public health alert was issued. Mr. Speaker, it is important that the House and the wider public understands that even before the public health alert was issued, students and young people who had been in close contact with suspected cases were being offered antibiotics. This is precisely what one would expect as a rapid response, and I'm confident UKHSA acted as quickly and as comprehensively as possible. In addition to cases involving students at the University of Kent, there were 2 cases identified involving 6th formers in Year 13, one of whom has sadly died. UKHSA made contact with the head teachers at both schools first thing on Monday morning and have worked closely with schools to provide information, advice and support, including a letter to parents that was issued that same day. We are working closely with DFE on wider communications to schools across the Kent area, and a briefing with schools has taken place this morning. Mr. Speaker, the strain associated with this outbreak is meningitis B, known as Men-B. It is uncommon, but as we have seen, a serious and potentially lethal strain of meningococcal disease. The onset of illness is often sudden, and early diagnosis and treatment with antibiotics are vital. It doesn't spread very easily. The bacteria is passed to others after a long period of close contact. For example, with living with someone in shared accommodation, through prolonged kissing, or sharing vapes and drinks. However, the symptoms are also easily mistaken for other common conditions, even for something like a hangover. And so, Mr. Speaker, let me now set out the current advice from UKHSA. Anyone who attended Club Chemistry on March the 5th, 6th or 7th, and anyone who believes they were in close contact with someone who's confirmed or suspected to have meningitis, should attend a treatment centre and receive antibiotics. There are 4 centres open in Canterbury today, with 11,000 doses available on site. Details about the location of these centres are available on the UKHSA website and are being promoted by the UKHSA, the NHS, my department, schools and the university, as well as the BBC, and I encourage all media outlets to do the same. There is no need to book an appointment. A single course of antibiotics is highly effective in preventing the contraction and spread of this disease in 90% of cases. If you become worried about yourself, your child or a friend, particularly if symptoms are getting worse, please seek medical help urgently. Anyone with symptoms should call NHS 111 or in an emergency dial 999 to seek medical attention. Mr. Speaker, people are understandably asking about a vaccine. From 2015, the MenB vaccine has been available on the NHS as part of routine childhood immunisations, but clearly most students would not be vaccinated. Given the severity of the situation, I can confirm to the House that we will begin a targeted vaccination programme for students living in halls of residence at the University of Kent in Canterbury, which will begin in the coming days. UKHSA will provide further advice on other cohorts in the coming days. On the question of wider eligibility, we obviously follow the expert independent advice of the JCVI. In light of this latest outbreak, I will be asking them to re-examine eligibility for meningitis vaccines. I will do so without prejudicing their decision because we have to follow the clinical advice on this. Mr. Speaker, I will keep the House updated as the situation unfolds, and I commend this statement to the House.
Secretary of State Stuart Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm grateful to the Secretary of State for advance sight of his statement and for the clarity he has provided to the House this afternoon. Our thoughts too are with the families of the 2 young people who have so tragically lost their lives. I cannot imagine the pain they must be going through at this difficult time. This will also be an extremely distressing time for parents, students, staff and the wider community across the South East, especially as I understand 2 more cases have just been announced. Indeed, yesterday, friends of mine were very anxious about their own son, who was in the vicinity over the weekend. I also want to pay tribute to the NHS staff, public health teams, school and university leaders, and all those working at pace to respond. I welcome what the Secretary of State has set out on the daily publication of figures, the scale-up of antibiotic provision and the decision to introduce a targeted vaccination programme for students in halls of residence, alongside seeking further advice from JCVI. However, there remain a number of important questions. First, on the timeline, as there have been concerns raised out there. The Secretary of State has set out the sequence of events in detail. But can he be clear about the threshold used for wider public communication and whether that threshold is being reviewed in light of this outbreak? He also set out that head teachers were contacted on Monday morning. Can he clarify when those schools were first identified and whether there is a need to review how quickly educational settings are brought into the response, given that cases were identified several days beforehand? Secondly, on the nature of the outbreak, while many cases are linked to a single venue, can he confirm whether all cases are believed to be part of one cluster, or whether there remains a risk of multiple sources of infection? Thirdly, on escalation, given the involvement of both a university and schools, can the Secretary of State set out what criteria are being used to determine when more extensive interventions are required across educational settings? This situation will undoubtedly cause concern among families, particularly with the end of term approaching. Can he therefore set out what steps are being taken to manage the risk of onward spread as students return home? And what advice is being provided to families and local health services in other parts of the country? Can he also confirm that public health messaging is fully consistent across schools, GPs, local authorities and NHS services so that families receive clear advice wherever they turn? And what steps are being taken to counter misinformation online where false claims may undermine confidence in public health advice? Can he also confirm that local laboratories, intensive care capacity and public health teams are fully resourced to manage any increase in cases, and that supply chains for antibiotics and vaccines are resilient should further clusters emerge? Finally, while I welcome the targeted vaccination programme and the decision to seek further advice from JCVI, the Secretary of State has acknowledged that most students would not have been routinely vaccinated against meningitis B, and protection among older teenagers is clearly not as strong as it is in infancy. Does he accept that this creates a particular vulnerability among older teenagers and young adults? And will he ensure that any further advice on eligibility or wider catch-up measures is brought forward as quickly as possible? Mr. Speaker, this is a serious public health situation. It is right that the response, though, remains calm, evidence-led and focused on protecting patients and supporting those families affected.
Firstly, Mr. Speaker, can I thank the Shadow Secretary of State for his constructive response and support as we respond to this incident, and also welcome the way in which he is right.
Well, we're just hearing there from the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, and his opposite, the Conservative, Stuart Andrew, giving that update to the House of Commons on the latest situation with the meningitis outbreak in Kent. Some alarming news there.
I've got to say as well, there is a touch of kind of deja vu around this, because I've just been hearing there meningitis figures will be updated publicly, daily, every morning. It takes me back to that awful period in life. Was it 5 o'clock, where you used to gather around your screens and turn the telly on to terrify yourself within an inch of your life to see how many cases had been reported that day and all the rest of it. I'm absolutely not trying to undermine the seriousness of what's going on, but it's just, I got a bit of a sinking feeling when I heard that bit.
Being on campus yesterday, seeing people with masks on, socially distancing, not wanting to get too close to people, it really reminded me of being back in COVID times, and that was certainly the concern amongst many students. But being there, they were really taking it quite seriously. They all wanted, the phrase on many people's lips were, it's better to be safe than sorry here, because they didn't want to take any risks. Many of the students I'd spoken to had friends or friends of friends who were in hospital with this meningitis. I spoke to one mum who told me her son's classmate was in a coma from this outbreak. So people in Kent, who I was speaking to yesterday, taking it very seriously.
And Wes Streeting, they're describing it as an unprecedented outbreak, Will, and also saying there's now going to be a targeted vaccination programme, and that the Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation is to re-examine eligibility for meningitis vaccines. This rollout could be quite rapid, and they say it's contained to Kent, but that will change if we get information about outbreaks elsewhere.
Yeah, contained to Kent, but the Health Secretary saying a confirmed case was in France. That's clearly been being dealt with, but it just shows how these cases are spreading, and just in the last 24 hours 2 more cases confirmed. Interesting to hear though about that vaccination programme, targeted at the moment to just people who are living in halls of residence in the Canterbury campus of the University of Kent, of course, the epicentre really of this outbreak, where this meningitis B vaccination programme will be rolled out. At the moment, it's just babies receiving that vaccination. It has been since 2015, but now clearly students here are going to be receiving that vaccine too, as the health authorities continue to deal with this.
Well, we've had an interesting email from a lady called Ruth. She says, Michelle, my granddaughter nearly died of meningitis 3 years ago. She spent a month in hospital because they were so late to diagnose it. She said she had absolutely no rash, so therefore they kept discounting it. Please make clear you do not have to have a rash. And almost, literally at the exact same time almost, William got in touch and shared his story. He contracted meningitis, he said. He described some of his symptoms, but he said the same. I did not have a rash, never had one. So he's also saying, please, can you point out that diagnoses have happened which haven't had the rash. And I've got to say, I think those guys make interesting points, because the first thing I would look for is that rash with the glasses we've always just been speaking about earlier on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the first symptom you think of when you think of meningitis. I was speaking to a doctor earlier on, actually, who was saying actually one of the first symptoms is a stiff neck. And if you can't do this, move your chin to your chest and move your head up like that, then that is a symptom that you might have contracted meningitis, as is a really banging headache. So those two symptoms as well.
Blimey. You're describing half the nation there. There are loads of viewers now will be sitting there stretching their necks forward and back saying, oh, go on, what do I do now?
Right, loads more coming up on Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We're going to speak to our health editor, Lucy Johnston, in just a moment to get the latest analysis, including asking that question, what has caused this? All that to come after the break.
You could be the proud owner of a brand new Benevan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, and is worth over £67,000. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, here's a fun story for you. Who needs a designated driver when the owner of the pub will take you home?
Yeah, he's really nice. He's Paul Hartfield, the owner of the Flying Horse near Ashford. And he offers patrons a ride home, provided they live within a 3-mile radius.
And he joins us now. It's good to see you this morning. It must keep you busy, Paul.
Sorry?
It must keep you busy. Running you know, you take the money, you give them a few beers, then you have to drive them home afterwards.
I know, that's really over and above.
Exactly, but it's just a thing to do for the community. Really, we do a lot of charity work here. I don't accept any money from it. They donate in a box towards MND this year.
Yeah, no, good on you. I mean, we can see the black cab behind you there, because you used to be a black cab driver, didn't you?
No, I used to work in the industry. I was never a black cab driver.
Oh, right, so you bought a black cab just for this enterprise, have you?
Yes, yeah. But now the Ashford Borough Council have got involved, and I shouldn't be doing it. I've been told that I can't do it.
But that's the interesting thing about it. You're fostering community spirit. And that's the whole point of what you're trying to do, and it's what pubs are renowned for. It's why we need to save them. It's all about community spirit and cohesion.
That's right. I mean, we do a tractor run every year as well. We raised just short of £7,000 in December for MND again. We got one of our customers in the village. Her mum's got it, so it really hit home actually.
Well, look, Paul, let us know how your case with the council goes, and we'll come and visit you again at some point.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on March the 17th. I'm Michelle Dewberry.
I'm Charlie Peters. Now, we've just heard from the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. He's described the meningitis outbreak as unprecedented, as health officials are taking emergency measures to prevent the outbreak in Kent from spreading nationwide. Will Godley has all the latest.
And the Health Secretary also announcing a targeted vaccination programme of meningitis B to students living in accommodation at the University of Kent.
Well, we want to know, do you have any minesweepers? Well, would rather not get involved, sir. I said, for 40 years we're protecting you and you don't want to get involved in something that is very minor?
Well, Donald Trump there blasting Britain again. He reckons that the UK's claiming that we're no longer the Rolls-Royce of allies. Is he crying wolf? Do you agree with him or not? And is there any way back for the special relationship?
So I was very upset with, not upset, I was not happy with the UK.
A GB News exclusive today, a leading abuse lawyer has told us that the grooming gang's inquiry could be £65 million wasted unless ministers stop meddling and let the evidence lead the way. I'll be bringing you all the latest on that shortly.
And the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, will be giving a lecture later in which she will lay out the big three choices facing the UK. It will include closer alignment with the EU. So we'll be asking if the great Brexit betrayal is gathering pace.
And it's St. Patrick's Day today. We'll be checking in on some of the celebrations throughout the show. We're seeing some live pictures of lovely Dublin right now, and we'll be crossing to our very own Doogie Beattie, who is enjoying the festivities as ever.
You can join the conversation in all the usual ways. You can post your views and your comments online, gbnews.com/your say. I mentioned at the top of the programme about getting you to do an Irish jig. He thinks that I've forgotten all about it and moved on.
You know,
I've got to tell you, loads of people have got in touch saying that they're desperately wanting to see you jiggle about. So I promise you, ladies and gents, it will be happening.
I think director Daryl's just collapsed at that. I wonder if we still have a team in the gallery of the requests for me to start jiggling. I am slightly concerned that senior presenters are trying to entrap me and ambush me with requests to do dancing. Strictly Come Good Afternoon Britain, that's what it's become.
He's up for it. He's just pretending, he's just playing it cool. You watch. I'm going to try and get some kind of tune. I don't know how. This is all going to be live TV. It might go horribly wrong. I'm going to try and get some kind of tune. And he'll be like Michael Flatley there. He'll be like busting his moves out. It'll be his moment to shine. I can feel it in my bones.
I'm not sure I can feel it in mine. Should we check in with Sam Francis? What's he got to say about this?
Very good afternoon to you. The top story this lunchtime. The Health Secretary says the Kent meningitis outbreak is unprecedented and rapidly developing as more cases have been confirmed today. 15 infections have now been identified, including 4 cases of meningitis B. That is a rare and potentially deadly strain, not routinely covered for many students. Free antibiotics are being offered to close contacts, and a targeted vaccination programme is now being rolled out at the University of Kent, with scope, we understand, to expand that rollout further. Well, in the last few minutes, Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, told MPs in the Commons it is vital to stick to the facts as the situation continues to evolve.
Given the severity of the situation, I can confirm to the House that we will begin a targeted vaccination programme for students living in halls of residence at the University of Kent in Canterbury, which will begin in the coming days. UKHSA will provide further advice on other cohorts in the coming days. On the question of wider eligibility, we obviously follow the expert independent advice of the JCVI. In light of this latest outbreak, I will be asking them to re-examine eligibility for meningitis vaccines.
In other news this hour, the war with Iran, now into its 3rd week, is continuing to escalate across the region. A wave of drone and rocket attacks targeted the US Embassy in Baghdad early this morning in what's been described as the most intense assault since the war began. These were the pictures that came to us as it happened. There showing the CRAM air defence systems taking out drones in the sky over the embassy compound, followed by fire and huge plumes of smoke rising after a blast struck the embassy building. Elsewhere, a number of Gulf states were forced to close their airspace overnight as fears are growing of further Iranian strikes, pushing oil prices yet again above $100 a barrel. And it comes as Donald Trump is ramping up pressure on allies to help secure the Strait of Hormuz, warning it would be, he says, very bad for NATO if they don't help. The UK and EU allies, though, have so far resisted any calls to expand their role. Well, the president has now directly criticised Sir Keir Starmer, saying he's not happy with the UK's position on the war.
Prime Minister of UK, United Kingdom, yesterday told me I'm meeting with my team to make a determination. I said, you don't need to meet it with the team. You're the Prime Minister. You can make your own. Why do you have to meet with your team to find out whether or not you're going to send some minesweepers to us or to send some boats?
Meanwhile, Israel's defense minister says one of Iran's most powerful figures, Ali Larijani, has been killed overnight in strikes, along with a senior commander. Larijani was a central figure in Iran's security and nuclear strategy and one of the most influential power brokers in the country's leadership. It means it marks one of the most significant blows to Iran's leadership since the start of the war. Worth noting, though, Iran has not verified the deaths, but Israel is vowing to continue targeting the Iranian regime's top command. Back here at home, Rachel Reeves has pledged to make Britain the fastest adopter of artificial intelligence in the G7 as she sets out plans to revive the UK's economy. In a major speech in London later, the Chancellor will outline 3 priorities for the next decade: expanding AI and new technology, strengthening ties with the EU and delivering growth across the country. She's also expected to announce £2.5 billion for advanced computing, including £1 billion to develop cutting-edge quantum computers. Rachel Reeves says Britain must chart its own course in the global AI race, but critics warn closer EU ties risk reopening Brexit divisions. The cost of fixing pothole-damaged roads across England and Wales has reached a record £18 billion, according to a new report calling the situation a national disgrace. Research by the Asphalt Industry Alliance found only 51% of local roads are in good condition, with surfaces now being fully resurfaced on average once every 97 years. Although 1.9 million potholes were filled last year, campaigners are warning the scale of the problem is still growing. And Harry Styles, King Charles and Claudia Winkleman have been reimagined as 10-year-olds to celebrate 75 years of Dennis the Menace. They appear in a special anniversary edition of the Beano alongside other famous creative mischief makers, including Stormzy, Rowan Atkinson and Lady Gaga, all voted for by children. The collectible comic features the longest fold-out cover in Beano history, bringing together 75 mini versions of the stars for a giant birthday party for Dennis. The issue also celebrates reading for fun as part of the National Year of Reading. I'll tell you what the Beano missed. Charlie Peters jiggling about. That would have been great. Page 1, full spread. Back to Pat.
We're building it up, Charlie. We're building it up.
I knew he'd get something in there. I was about to say, isn't he good, that Sam Francis? Watching that clip of the air defence in the US, I said, I do love a CRAM because of the noise, and he immediately picks up on it and says, CRAM air defence system, they're working, and then he has to stab me in the back like that right at the end. Oh.
You love it, hey, Dennis the Menace. Are you old enough to remember Dennis the Menace?
Well, I'm old enough to work here, so just
Dennis
about.
the Menace. I'd forgotten all about Dennis the Menace. I didn't even really think it was a thing. And now I'm trying to remember some of the characters and I can't because my memory's terrible. Was there a pie? Was there something to do with a pie? I don't know. You guys at home, you will know, perhaps, Dennis the Menace, if there's something to do with a pie.
Michelle the Menace works out quite well as Ryan, doesn't it?
But I think that's lovely when you see that. The new generation of kids following stuff, I think it's very nice.
Get them off their phones for a sec. Have a read.
Yes.
It's good stuff.
Yes, they should. And by the way, you've got me started now. People will often say, oh, well, that's all well and good if you can afford books in your house and all the rest of it. There are so many schemes now. Dolly Parton, did you know this, Dolly Parton? I think it's called the Imagination Library or something like that. So there are so many schemes for households that don't have, high incomes or whatever, to actually send books to children, I don't know, however, once a quarter or once a month or something like that. So there's no excuse, really, not to expose your kids to reading. I think it's brilliant.
Not to mention the much-ignored library, which does still exist.
Oh, well, I know, but they're few and far between.
Indeed. They are still out there, though. Keep visiting them, perhaps they will remain. Right, let's move on now. Breaking news at 10 minutes past 1, because the Health Secretary just confirmed that there have now been 15 cases of meningitis reported following that outbreak in Kent.
Yes, health officials have identified 4 cases of MenB as hundreds now are urged to get antibiotics to stop the spread.
Well, our national reporter, Will Godley, has all the latest. Will, what can you tell us?
Well, Charlie, Michelle, yeah, lots to get into as there have been lots of updates in the last hour, with the number of cases confirmed now up by 2, 15 confirmed cases, and as you say, 4 of them confirmed to be meningitis B. As Wes Streeting has described in the House of Commons, this outbreak as unprecedented. Well, let's take a look at the epicentre of the outbreak here. This is Canterbury in Kent, and officials looking at the Chemistry nightclub in Canterbury as being a place of interest in this outbreak, asking anybody who's been at that nightclub between the 5th, 6th and 7th of March to immediately go and get precautionary emergency antibiotics in a bid to stop this meningitis outbreak from spreading any further. The Health Secretary said authorities were aware of the first case on the 13th of March, and in the second case on Saturday, which was made aware, they were made aware by French authorities. Someone had clearly gone to France there. And now, by Sunday, a full-scale response was launched to this, centring on the University of Kent and their campus in Canterbury, where a number of students were taken to hospital. There are 11 people in hospital. Actually, that's now increased, hasn't it, to 13 people in hospital with this outbreak. Many of them believed to be students, as one person confirmed to have died there. And now accommodation blocks and people living at the University of Kent will be receiving a vaccine programme of this meningitis B that a number of cases have been confirmed to be. But it's not just the University of Kent that's been caught up in this. A number of schools as well in the Kent area also impacted. In Faversham, Canterbury and Ashford, of course, as one sixth form student has died as a result of this outbreak as well.
Thank you very much, Will Godley there for that update. We're about to bring in our health and science editor, Lucy Johnson. Before I do that, got another breaking update on this story. Health officials are now investigating a possible case of meningitis in London. That's, of course, amid this outbreak in Kent. And Lucy, I suppose the main question that a lot of people have been asking us this morning on GB News and into the afternoon is, what caused this? What is likely to have started this outbreak?
So meningitis cases happen every year. There are about 378 last year, and there's about 400 every year. So those are cases which severe symptoms arise. And each year, there's about 10% of those cases will die, and about 30% will have severe complications, which are deafness, epilepsy, even brain damage. So this is unusual because of the speed of the spread and because of the numbers affected. It's not just isolated cases. And it's unusual, but it's not unprecedented. I've been looking back over...
Wes Streeting, so he did say it was an unprecedented outbreak in his statement to the House earlier, just now.
Well, it depends how far you go back. So in 1999, in February 1999, 3 people died. I think there were youngsters. In January of that year, there were also 2 deaths. And in 2010, there were another 2 deaths. So that there are deaths and there are clusters. In fact, it was, 3 died in February 1999. But it's unusual for so many to be affected and so fast. And it's often because, the bacteria evolves. That's how it survives in our society. We live with it all the time. And about 10 to 20% of people carry this bacteria harmlessly in their nose and throats. And if children and young people, particularly who are more likely to carry it, are not exposed to this, they are more likely to get seriously ill. There are lots of people speculating. There has been questions over whether vaping has increased the risk, either by damaging the airways slightly and causing the bacteria to become more sticky, or whether sharing vapes has led to increased risk of young people contracting it. There are lots of different theories, but all of these are just hypotheses, and it may be that this is just a coincidence. These cases happen every year, and it just shows you, and it strikes you as every parent's nightmare, how important it is to get urgent care and attention as soon as you see those red flag symptoms.
Yeah, but let's be honest, chance would be a fine thing, wouldn't it? It's all well and good us sitting in a TV studio telling everyone, oh, if you see this symptom, do this, and this symptom, do that. If you call some of these helplines, if you try and get into your GP, if you try and go to an A&E, well, good luck, quite frankly, trying to get this urgent care. So there'll be many people sitting there thinking, oh, I might feel like this or I might feel like that, but, you know, I've got no chance in NHS, A&E and all the rest of it. What do those people do if they really do need that urgent care and they don't feel like they're getting it?
Well, the first thing is to push, but it's not. This is easily mistaken for any other virus or a hangover or just feeling under the weather. But there are red flag symptoms such as severe headache, light sensitivity, stiff neck. Rash can sometimes happen or not. So there are a series of red flag symptoms, and I think most doctors, most A&E respondents should take that very seriously, especially at the moment, if you have those present with those red light symptoms. And experts were telling me last night, students have to help each other, not just try and push themselves. Very difficult when you're ill and you don't really know, but each of them have to look out for each other.
This information we're getting now from Kent Online, they're saying that a 24-year-old woman who lives and works in London, not a student at the University of Kent, was admitted to hospital with suspected meningitis after they had seen each other, this girl and also her 26-year-old brother, on Mother's Day. No link to the university. Could that just be a coincidence? You say that these cases happen very often every year, or could that potentially demonstrate a widening spread? Because health officials have been under some criticism about the outbreak starting on Friday and the warnings not being issued until Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, they've denied that, and I think for anyone sitting outside the Health Security Agency, it's hard to know whether they reacted fast, too slow. We don't know. And actually, when you get one case, you're not meant to identify the person because it breaches privacy rules. So it's a difficult one, that. But it's actually really hard to know. You know, these cases are not common. Cases of meningitis becoming severe, making people very ill, happen, you know, it's about 400, you know, most years. That's since the introduction of a vaccine. So it could be linked and it might not. We don't know, and it will take health agencies to look at that and to do the investigations and to find out. But, you know, it could be a coincidence too.
That's our health and science editor, Lucy Johnson. Thank you very much for your insights.
Before we move on, Michelle, Beryl the Peril.
Oh, Beryl the Peril.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Yes, someone else has been in touch with me as well saying Nasha.
Oh, yes.
Walter, I think someone else got in touch with me. If you don't know what we're talking about the Beano. It's 70-odd years old. Did you know that? 70-odd years old, and it is still going strong. I like that, I do. I've got to educate Charlie. Charlie's looking at me when I mentioned the Beano. Charlie's like, what? The Beano? I'm going to try and educate him.
I knew what the Beano was.
No, he didn't. He had to Google it. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen. He's sitting there with his laptop.
Dennis the Menace, Michelle the Menace.
Michelle the Menace. I'll get one of those T-shirts, one of those tight, stripy red and black. Was it red and black? Yeah, red and black, I think it was, yes.
Hoops, not stripes.
Yes, I don't know, really. I'm just going to say yes at this point.
You've been Googling, that's why.
Right, I've not.
Let's go to Dublin. Thousands have been lining the streets there for the National St Patrick's Day Festival.
Yeah, this year's parade, get this, 12 large-scale floats celebrating the living roots of Ireland.
So major events are also taking place in Belfast, Cork and Galway, with Jessie Buckley's native Killarney marking her Oscar win with a float.
Well, without further ado, let's go there then, shall we? Strap yourselves in, let's head to Dublin. GB News reporter Dougie Beattie is live for us there right now. Dougie, where's your, I don't know, your green top hat or whatever it is that I expected you to be wearing?
I've lost it. I lost it earlier on. But the parade has just passed. It's the last of it. Took about an hour and a half to pass us. There are quite literally thousands and thousands of people just here lining the streets, and this is the whole way right down through O'Connell Street, right up through down to the River Liffey. I mean, the whole place is like this the whole way down. Now, these people are beginning to disperse because, of course, that parade has now passed this area. But people have came from right across the world, and we caught up with a few earlier on.
It's really good. It's great for the city, it's great for the economy, and it's great for people to come and see Ireland, especially in this weather.
Absolutely love it, yeah. It's after getting an awful lot bigger and better organised. Yeah, we love it.
We have been for more than 3 years. It was fantastic. I don't know, we're expecting how much will be today.
Yes, well, you can see the atmosphere here in Dublin is electric, and as that goes through Dublin, of course, the bars will be ram-packed and they will party all night. Usually St. Patrick's Day in this part of Ireland goes on for quite a few days. We'll be on live throughout the day to see what we can find.
Oh, Dougie, I wish I was there. I might come back to you at the show at 6 o'clock tonight just to see how many Guinnesses you have consumed between then and now. I'd love to see. I'd love to watch the pace, the turn, and the energy change as day turns into night.
Is he still with us?
Yes, exactly. I mean, there is a real party atmosphere around Dublin, and tonight it will really, really come alive, and it's great to see. It was the same on New Year's Eve here, of course. We were in Dublin for New Year's Eve, and, you know, it is one of these cities that you can just party in, and there is a real community atmosphere around it. But this is the Irish celebrating their heritage and exactly where they came. Here's wherever you go.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, DBT.
They've maybe had a few Guinnesses already.
I'm sure you'll have a few as well. Thanks, mate. We'll speak to you later. DBT doing a very good job there of walking backwards. Let's see if he can do the same by 6 o'clock.
It was very impressive. In fact, actually, I might set him that challenge at 6 o'clock.
He's a pro. Right, lots more coming up on today's show. Is the special relationship not very special? Well, we will be speaking to a former Royal Navy officer about that after the break.
Yes, all of that and more to come. You are with GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
It's a surprise. honest.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 25 minutes past 1, and Donald Trump, he's launched yet another scathing attack on Sir Keir Starmer, criticising the Prime Minister's reluctance to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. Here's what he said yesterday.
Prime Minister of UK, United Kingdom, yesterday told me, I'm meeting with my team to make a determination. I said, you don't need to meet it with the team. You're the Prime Minister. You can make your own. Why do you have to meet with your team to find out whether or not you're going to send some minesweepers to us or to send some boats?
The US president has warned it would be very bad for the future of NATO.
That's if all allies fail to send warships to the Straits, and it comes as the Prime Minister insisted that although Britain will not be drawn into a wider conflict, he's working with allies on a viable plan to reopen the shipping lane.
Well, joining us now is former Royal Navy officer James Gator. Good evening to you, James. Good afternoon to you, sorry. What do you think the UK should be doing now in this situation?
I think James is frozen, unfortunately. Oh, well, here's what it is. What we can tell you is that HMS Dragon arrived in Gibraltar today. We'll be able to get you some pictures of that later. It means, I mean, some naval sources are telling GB News that HMS Dragon won't actually get to the Eastern Mediterranean, won't get to Cyprus for a few more days. So it could be the situation,
you can walk
Michelle.
there quicker.
I wonder, we should do some... I mean, I think, look, the crew on HMS Dragon are doing everything they can to make this work. There should be no blame directed towards the brave sailors, the men and women on board that ship, who must feel an enormous weight of scrutiny. They're the most famous destroyer in the world right now, no doubt. We go back to James. James Gator is with us again. James, we're just talking about HMS Dragon, currently in Gibraltar, on the way to the Eastern Mediterranean. We reckon it'll arrive about 3 weeks after the start of this war. That's not good enough, is it? But what more can Britain do after the President's intervention yesterday?
Well, first things first, Charlie. HMS Dragon has been deployed in order to protect British sovereign territory in Cyprus, particularly RAF Akrotiri, with her air defence missiles, offers an unprecedented air defence capability. So the need for HMS Dragon is in one part. The comments by President Trump with regard to the Straits of Hormuz are a very different matter altogether. I think it's really important to point out that so far as the Americans are concerned, this is a war of choice. There is no NATO aspect to this conflict, and his conflating the allies he has in NATO with his decision to go to war with his bilateral partner Israel is very unfortunate, to say the least. NATO is a defensive coalition,
I suppose,
and this
James,
is an offensive action.
The point we've got, though, is that even if it doesn't necessarily require NATO to launch the operation, of course it was a US-Israeli strike, all those NATO members are affected by it. We're all going to pay more prices due to the shipping lanes being shut off. It's a war of choice for the US and Israel, but we're still being drawn into it because it affects us. Surely we should be doing more to reopen those lanes and help Britons pay less at the pump.
Well, you are right in that regard. And in fact, the Royal Navy has a very long history of providing exactly that service with the Armilla Patrol in the 80s and even through the 90s into the 2000s. We had a ship on station in that part of the world. I have served in the Northern Arabian Gulf, and we've had a ship based at the naval facility in Bahrain, now decommissioned and alongside. So you are right that our interests are affected. But the reason our interests are affected is because of this war of choice. It is true that we should be guarding those shipping lanes. The issue that we have is the number of units we have available to do that.
I mean, obviously, if Donald Trump was sitting here now, he would be pushing back on this narrative and saying he does not regard it as a war of choice. He would regard it as a war of, something that had to be done. He would say the regime was a bad faith actor. The way that Iran is now hitting out, lashing out left, right and centre. All of the foiled terror attacks that we've had in this country alone, I think it was 20 in the last year. So he would say it's a war of necessity, not a war of choice.
He might very well say that, Michelle, but my comment would be that at this point in time, it's a war of choice. The fact that Iran is a malign influence in that part of the world is not for debate, right? Every single member of NATO would agree with you and with Donald Trump that they are a malign influence. But the fact that this moment in time, the Straits of Hormuz is shut, is as a result of that war of choice. There are separate points at hand here. As a nation, we should be investing more in our Royal Navy, as we used to, so that we had the ships and aircraft available to protect the shipping lanes upon which we as an island depend. That is also not in any doubt. But again, the fact that this need has come about now is as a result of a war of choice.
OK, James Gator, former Royal Navy officer, was the advisor to the head of Royal Navy Communications and a media specialist. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
I think many people will be nodding along with him there when he talks about investing more in the Navy. So many people get in touch with this channel saying it's pitiful what our armed forces have been reduced to.
Yeah, and what more can the Royal Navy do? As I was saying, the people on board HMS Dragon have done absolutely everything to get that ship back out to sea. It was in dry dock in Portsmouth, getting ready for maintenance. It's never moved so quickly to get it in that position. They want to do more. They can't. There are only 6 destroyers, and one of those 6 has been in maintenance for 7 years.
I know.
HMS Daring. People will go through the Royal Navy as a full career. They'll leave early. They'll do 5 or 6 years service on the destroyers. And they'll do a whole career attached to that ship without it ever leaving dock. Disaster.
No, but I don't think anyone has any animosity towards the individual. Anyone that goes and serves in our armed forces in whatever capacity deserves our respect. The frustration is more towards government policy in slashing and reducing the spending, particularly in such a volatile world that we are now in.
It's a madness. Welfare, not warfare. Well, that can come to bite you if you operate under that strategy. Right, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, indeed. Oh, you won't want to miss this one, ladies and gents. There'll be gripping stuff. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, will be speaking out. We'll have all of that and much more after your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. The top story this lunchtime. The Health Secretary says the Kent meningitis outbreak is unprecedented and rapidly developing as cases rise to 15. 4 people are confirmed to have meningitis B, a rare and potentially deadly strain not routinely covered for many students. A targeted vaccination programme is now being rolled out at the University of Kent alongside precautionary antibiotics for close contacts. Israel's defence minister has said that one of Iran's most powerful figures, Ali Larijani, has been killed in overnight strikes. Larijani was a key architect of Iran's security and nuclear strategy. If confirmed, it will be one of the most significant blows to Iran's leadership since the war began. Iran has not verified the death, but Israel has vowed to continue targeting senior Iranian figures. As we just heard, Rachel Reeves has pledged to make Britain the fastest adopter of artificial intelligence in the G7 as she's set to unveil a plan to boost the UK's economy. In a major speech later, the Chancellor is expected to announce £2.5 billion for advanced computing and set out priorities including closer EU ties, AI expansion and growth across the country. Plans to move English language tests for UK visa applicants fully online have raised concerns over fraud and security. Experts warn that remote exams could allow cheating and impersonation, but the Home Office insists any system will meet the highest standards. And the cost of fixing pothole-plagued roads in England and Wales has reached a record £8.6 billion. Campaigners are calling the situation a national disgrace. A new report says roads are resurfaced on average once every 97 years, with just over half of the network considered to be in good condition. Those are the latest headlines. Charlie and Michelle will be back with you after this.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a blustery day out there, particularly for the far northwest, where there will be outbreaks of occasionally heavy rain. Meanwhile, winds begin to ease elsewhere. The cloud breaks up. We'll see decent spells of sunshine for the southern half of the UK. At the moment, we're in between a warm front and a cold front. For many parts of the UK, that means it's dry and it's mild with a southerly breeze. That's helping to break up the cloud across England and Wales, away from coastal areas predominantly. Plenty of sunshine then emerging. Scotland and Northern Ireland, a different story. Here it's windy and a lot of cloud will remain. Will also be these heavy spells of rain pushing into the west of Scotland, western parts of Northern Ireland, making it feel unpleasant with a strong wind in these locations. Further south, temperatures responding well to the sunshine with mid-teens fairly widely. The rain remains in place into the evening across much of western Scotland, fringing upon central parts of Scotland, not quite reaching Glasgow and Edinburgh, but it's starting to affect parts of Northern Ireland towards the east, Belfast included. Areas of cloud into parts of Wales and the far southwest. Otherwise, it's clear spells across the Midlands, the east and southeast of England, and that remains the case overnight. It's going to be a chilly night as a result, with winds easing, and as temperatures fall away, some mist and fog patches will form for large parts of England and Wales. Clearer skies as well for the north of Scotland, but in between we've got this area of cloud, the legacy of the weather front that is bringing the wet weather to the northwest during Tuesday. That's going to remain across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland throughout much of Wednesday. A few spots of rain, but it's a weakening feature. To the north, a lot of sunshine, just the odd shower, and across much of England and Wales, it's a beautiful day. Spring sunshine widely, temperatures reaching 18 to 20 Celsius.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A55 at Britannia Bridge, a 30 miles per hour speed limit remains in force until further notice. On the A50 eastbound, delays of around 10 minutes are building between the A500 and the A5007. On Northamptonshire's A14 westbound, expect queues between Junction 7 at Kettering North and Junction 3 at Rothwell. Also on Bedfordshire's M1 northbound exit slip at Junction 10, a broken down vehicle is closing one lane. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country report major disruption at Glasgow Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Let's take you live to central London, where our Chancellor Rachel Reeves is giving her latest Mayor's lecture.
And to sleep at night about the next bill. That expectation is the basic promise on which democratic capitalism has always relied. But for too many people, it hasn't felt true for a while. The government's mission, this government's mission, is to correct that. From me as Chancellor, it requires three things. It requires responsibility to steward our public finances. It requires fairness, so that when difficult choices must be made, working people know that their interests are at the forefront of my mind. And it requires a plan to build prosperity, because our collective standard of living is determined not only by our success in keeping prices under control, but also by our ability to get incomes rising, expand opportunity, and build abundance where there is scarcity. We can only do that with sustained productivity-driven growth. My argument is that growth today relies on an active and strategic state, working in partnership with business, to build prosperity that is secure and resilient in a fast-changing world. The object is to turn around our medium-run productivity performance and build an investment-led growth model for the UK. That requires a break with the past. with the laissez-faire politics of the passive state, the fiction that a strong economy could be built on the success of just a few places, and with the instability and wrong-headed policy-making of recent governments. Since the summer of 2024, we've been doing things differently, through an active and a strategic state, delivering stability to create the strong foundations for businesses to plan and to invest, providing public investment to de-risk new opportunities, shape markets and crowd in private investment, and implementing reform to shape an economy that supports the creation of wealth, not its extraction. Finally, I want to set out three big choices, the areas which I have identified the greatest growth and opportunities for the UK in the decade to come, and then the actions that we are taking to grasp those opportunities. Given the conflict in Iran, with economic implications at home and around the world, let me begin with that global context. 2 years ago, in my first May's lecture, I described the new age of insecurity, marked by the long fallout from the 2008 financial crisis and the seismic events that followed. The global pandemic, war within Europe's borders and now in the Middle East, energy crises and disruptions to global trade. These crises affirm the reality that globalisation, as we once knew it, is dead. When I said so in 2023, I was criticised in some quarters, but I don't think today many would deny it. Each crisis.
Well, we're joined now by Marcus Beard, who's a former Downing Street advisor on AI and misinformation. Now, Rachel Reeves there just pointing out her three strategies, innovation and AI, as one of the key ones. Do you think that we should be, we have very ambitious targets to be the fastest in the G7, the best in the G7, etc., when it comes to AI? Do you agree with that strategy?
I absolutely think it's the right strategy to take. AI is going to have has a huge opportunity to massively boost productivity, which will hopefully cause a lot of positive change in the UK economy. Sometimes I think that a lot of these AI announcements by the government can slightly have the wrong focus. Even looking at today, the announcement of 25 billion for quantum computing, it's a big flashy number, it's a big flashy technology, but truly in terms of productivity gains across the entire economy, look, quantum computing isn't going to trickle through to real businesses for years, maybe a decade. So I think it's really exciting, but what I'd really like to see sort of more conversation and more focus on, a bit more positive, practical conversation about is the massive productivity gains that can be made, all across the economy in small, medium, and large businesses. I think every company, every worker at any company can probably save 4 hours a week just from simple use of AI, automating the monotonous tasks and being able to sidestep some of the boring admin work they have to do. And if we say 4 hours a week for every worker, productivity problem fixed. I don't think we have to focus on these huge deals and quantum computing way off in the future.
I suppose, Marcus, we should welcome politicians doing a bit of long-term thinking. How often do we hear politicians making speeches that they may not benefit from in the years to come because they're planning for 10 or 15 years down the line with this sort of investment? So much short-term thinking in politics these days. What can you tell us to reassure some of our viewers and listeners, though, who might be thinking, right, I might save 4 hours a week with productivity through AI, but there's also a risk that AI might entirely delete my job?
This fear of the artificial and general intelligence is around the corner, and it's going to, totally upend the economy and take all of our jobs. There's obviously a risk there. To be clear, there is a risk there that things could happen, but part of this narrative is hype, and it is a narrative pushed by these big US firms who are truly at the forefront of this AI race, by the Elon Musks of the world, the Sam Altmans of the world, because their model is venture capital funded. They want to claim that their technology is so powerful, it's going to change the world, and it will have this, multi-billion-dollar impact in the economy, but it's because they have a vested interest in pushing it. And so I also think you're right about planning for the future, planning for long term. Britain has a long history of transformative technologies. Look, we invented the computer, we invented the internet. Taking long-term bets like this in Britain is a smart thing to do because we know how to build it, embrace it, and export it.
So look, at the end of the day, some people watching this will be thinking, hold on a minute, if you've got more productive, more effective and efficient employees, it stands to reason then at some point you will need less of them to achieve your outcomes. But if anyone's watching this and they're thinking, do you know what, I get it, I don't want to be afraid by AI, I want to embrace the technology, I want to be at the front of the queue when it comes to having the relevant skills to capitalise on this with jobs and opportunities, what kind of stuff should they be learning about now? What kind of skills should they be trying to get, etc.?
I think they should be looking and taking a bit of an audit of what they do in their job. It's a great question. If there is anything that people are finding they do in their job that they find that happens on a computer that is very monotonous, perhaps filling out forms, filling out timesheets, drafting emails, proofreading, correcting things, all these sorts of computer-based tasks that take a long time. There's an opportunity to experiment if AI and large language models can save time in these places. But I think you make a good point that and I think that the Chancellor has said some interesting things at the start of that talk about a strategic and active role for the government to kind of foster this innovation that isn't simply, making a bunch of jobs redundant. It's about supporting people to innovate and do better and grow, not simply to just stay the same while replacing humans with AIs.
Interesting stuff. Marcus Beard there, former Downing Street advisor on AI and misinformation. Thank you for your insight. Very quickly, I've just got to say, her third strategy there, she talks about regional growth. I always raise an eyebrow at this, living in and coming from an area that's been absolutely battered by the loss of its industrial base. And it was only on Friday that Unite, one of the biggest unions in the country, issued a statement talking about acts of political self-harm when it comes to job losses in things like the oil and gas industry. So actually, if you're really passionate about regional growth, you probably shouldn't be absolutely battering those industrial necks of the woods. What do you think to that?
Yeah, could Rachel Reeves be Minnie the Minx?
Oh, I've got to tell you, by the way, very quickly, we're supposed to be going to the break. I have been inundated with people getting in touch with me because I was saying about the Beano and about pie. So many. I mean, I've lost track of all your names. I've got in touch going, Michelle, you're talking about Desperate Dan and his pies. I wasn't, because I Googled it to refresh my memory. I was talking about Pie Face. That's who I was talking about. Google it and you'll see what I mean.
Right, up next.
Oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy.
What a glorious song that is.
It is.
Such a tune.
It's St Patrick's Day. Louise, one of the viewers, has got in touch expressing concern for you.
For me?
She's saying that she feels like I'm bullying Charlie into trying to get him to dance. She said it's making her feel uncomfortable, and to tell you that if you don't want to do the Irish jig before the end of the programme, you don't have to.
Let us know, get in touch, gbnews.com/HR. Right, first we'll be crossing to the Irish Sea and joining the celebrations with our very own Doogie Beattie. But first, if you are in search of some holiday sun, let's get a look at the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Some stormy weather for the next couple of days for the Azores, Madeira, an area of low pressure bringing wet and windy conditions. Also for the Canaries, we'll see some showery rain moving through. Pretty blustery also for the Algarve. Much of the east coast of Spain, dry, fine and sunny. Plenty of sunshine for Mallorca and Ibiza. Some heavy rain for southern parts of Italy. Big showers across Greece as well. Quite gusty winds here also. Those showers will steadily fade for Santorini as we head towards the weekend. We'll keep some showers in Tenerife.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain,
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What could you spend this quadrillion quid on, Sophie? What were the limitations, let's put it lightly?
The entire world, couldn't I, essentially?
Yeah, but on this gift receipt, what are you allowed to spend this amount on?
Well, I've only spent up to the balance. I've only spent up to the balance of £10 because that's what was meant to be on it. Yeah, so, and I think I wasn't going to spend any more. And obviously they know about it now, so.
Yeah, Sophie, you were at a local coffee shop, and what were you trying to buy with your gift card originally?
It was a matcha latte.
Matcha latte, right. And then all of a sudden someone said, oh, I think you're a quadrillionaire. Was that how it played out, Sophie?
To be honest, they didn't, well, the person that served me didn't notice. He said that he'd not done gift cards before, so wasn't sure. And then he got his colleague to come over. She just looked at it and went, oh, I've never seen that before. Cashed it off, gave me the receipt, and then it wasn't until while I was waiting for my drink, I was looking at the receipt myself. And then I clicked on and I was like, surely not.
Wow, I'm just looking at the strap below us now. I believe that's 15 zeros after 6-3, so that's a lot of money, Sophie. Do you think they're going to honour it and let you have unlimited coffees and muffins for life?
Well, I was on BBC Radio Nottingham on Monday morning, and they've not actually been in contact with me at all, 200 Degrees or Cafe Nero, because they've bought them out now. I've heard nothing from them, and then they've released a statement saying that it's been rectified. And they've also said in the statement that they gave me a receipt with the correct balance on.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's almost 2 o'clock, so without further ado, let's cross live back to Dublin. GB News reporter Dougie Beattie is still there for us, Dougie?
Well, I am. I'm still here. No Guinness yet. But yes, what a fabulous morning it's been, actually. About an hour and a half the parade took to pass us, and it was quite controversial because last year the Irish had complained that it wasn't representing them. There was too many other communities dancing from all around the world, etc., and not enough of the Irish. But of course that was fixed today, and it was truly a St Patrick's Day parade to be very proud of inside Dublin. Thousands of people are now milling up O'Connell Street, trying to come to the top end of O'Connell Street where we are now, and they will go into the pubs and bars and restaurants around, bringing a lot of economy, a lot of boost to the economy in Dublin, and that is very, very welcome at the moment. But a great day here, and the atmosphere is good, and it will stay for the rest of the evening.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Dougie. Looking forward to checking in with you in the next hour. I do hope he gets that Guinness pretty shortly. It'd be a shame if he's
absolutely. His
going dry the old show.
self-restraint and professionalism, I'm absolutely respect Dougie Beattie. I like that. Very good, very impressive.
Well, you are watching Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up in the next hour. Make sure you don't go anywhere. We're going to be going through all the latest Beano characters, of course. That's
yes, honestly, never mind anything else. That's what you guys want to get in touch and talk. It is. The inbox is on fire talking about that one, ladies and gents. But first, the weather.
Today, clouds overhead.
Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Whilst rain and wind continue in the far northwest at the moment, it is beautiful elsewhere, increasingly dry and sunny for many parts of England and Wales, eastern parts of Scotland as well, seeing some cloud breaks. And really it's just this cold front that is still providing outbreaks of rain and a strong wind, and that will tend to sink southeastwards ever so slowly overnight, reaching central parts of Scotland, eastern parts of Northern Ireland, spilling some cloud into northern England, but clearing the skies across the north of Scotland. 1 or 2 showers here, otherwise clear spells, leading to a colder night for many of us. Temperatures down into the middle or even low single figures in places. Mist and fog forming across parts of England and Wales where we've got those clear skies. But that won't last long during the morning. It will soon lift, leading to beautiful blue skies developing from around 8 or 9 a.m. across this large part of England and Wales. I think for Cumbria northwards, into southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, this is where the front comes to a rest. But with high pressure building in on top of the UK, that front's going to be squeezed and it's going to weaken considerably. So, yeah, an area of cloud, but mostly just light outbreaks of rain at this stage. And northern Scotland seeing a much sunnier day compared with Tuesday, and the south of the UK also barely a cloud in sight. That means temperatures will do well. It may have been a fresh start, but temperatures rapidly rising through the day, and we're looking at highs widely of 18 to 20 Celsius, perhaps a touch more in some of the warmest spots, most likely western parts of Wales. Not so warm across Scotland and Northern Ireland, where we do have this lingering cloud, and that tends to shift northwards again into Wednesday night, and it will stick around for parts of northern and eastern Scotland on Thursday. Sunny skies elsewhere, not quite as warm, but plenty of sunshine into the weekend.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50. Plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen,
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on March the 17th. I'm Charlie Peters.
And I'm Michelle Dewberry. Hello. Now, it's a race against time as health officials are taking emergency measures to prevent the deadly meningitis outbreak in Kent, spreading nationwide as tributes are paid to 18-year-old Juliet Kenny. Will Godley with the latest.
Well, 2,000 clubgoers in Canterbury today told to get an antibiotic as a targeted vaccine rollout is going to be introduced in the coming days to students who live on the University of Kent campus.
As GB News exclusive, a top abuse lawyer has told us that the grooming gangs inquiry could be £65 million wasted unless ministers stop meddling and let evidence lead the way. We'll be bringing you all the latest on that.
And the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has been given a lecture in which she will lay out the 3 big choices facing the UK. We've just been hearing that they include closer alignment with the EU. So we've got to ask the big question there, is Brexit getting betrayed?
And of course, it's St. Patrick's Day, and we will be checking in on some of the celebrations throughout the show. There's some live pictures there in Dublin. People seem to be revelling very happily. And we'll be joining our very own Dougie Beattie, who has so far resisted a pint of Guinness.
Oh, I admire Dougie Beattie's willpower. He's gone up in my estimation, you know.
Where was he before?
Well, it was already quite high.
I should hope so.
Anyone that watches Jubes & Co will know I've got high regard for Dougie. He's put himself in very challenging positions when it comes to protests and all the stuff that goes on. He don't mess around. He's straight in there, bringing us all that front line. So he's already high in my estimations, but actually being surrounded by Guinness and all of the goings-on on St. Patrick's Day and saying, no, not yet, because I'm working, I respect that.
You have booked him for your show, haven't you, now, for 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, I've got it all going. In my own mind, I've gone now. I'm over in Dublin. I'm there. I'm in St. Patrick's Day.
You could do it. I mean, this finishes at 3. You can get on a flight. Pretty sharpish.
Don't tempt me.
You could land.
Do not tempt me. I tell you, there's occasions like St. Patrick's Day and then the big fancy dress affair that goes on in Benidorm.
Don't you want to be there right now?
As well.
Look at that.
Yeah, they're the 2 things that whenever I watch them, the footage from St. Patrick's Day and the footage from Benidorm fancy dress, if you don't know what that is, the big party that they have there, Google it. It is a treat for your eyes, ladies and gents.
That's the famous Temple Bar, I think, in Dublin. We're looking at there. How much do you think a pint of Guinness costs there, Michelle?
I don't know, because I don't drink pints and I don't like Guinness.
Well, it's pretty expensive.
If you ask me about
it's
Prosecco...
pretty expensive. It can go up to, according to reports, up to €12 a pint at the Temple.
You see, I'm rubbish at this. Is that too much for a Guinness? I don't know.
It's quite dear.
If you asked me about a Prosecco price, I'd be there, right in there. But I don't know about Guinness. I don't know how much it costs.
It shouldn't cost that much. But people go there because it's iconic, and that's why you have those huge crowds there today. They'll be doing a roaring trade. The GDP of Ireland surging due to those €12 pints.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts. It could be less. But,
€12. Yeah. People will be getting in touch now, going, oh, Michelle, she's so out of touch. She thinks that €12 for a Guinness is fine. I don't know. I hold my hands up. I've never bought a pint of Guinness in my life. My brother has these cans, and there's a new kind of innovation or something. Yeah. He's adamant that these kind of cans with this thing at the top, they're as good as the real thing. I don't know. It's lost on me. I just see my brother with them, letting you into a little insight there in the Dewberry household.
Right, well, we're going over to Dougie Beattie very shortly, but first, your latest news headlines with the patient Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. At 3 minutes past 2, the top story this hour. The Health Secretary says the Kent meningitis outbreak is unprecedented and rapidly developing. That as more cases have been confirmed today. 15 infections have now been identified, including 4 cases of meningitis B, a rare and potentially deadly strain not routinely covered for many students. Free antibiotics are now being offered to close contacts, and a targeted vaccination programme is being rolled out at the University of Kent with scope to expand it further. Well, earlier today, Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, told MPs in the Commons it is vital to stick to the facts as the situation continues to evolve.
Given the severity of the situation, I can confirm to the House that we will begin a targeted vaccination programme for students living in halls of residence at the University of Kent in Canterbury, which will begin in the coming days. UKHSA will provide further advice on other cohorts in the coming days. On the question of wider eligibility, we obviously follow the expert independent advice of the JCVI. In light of this latest outbreak, I will be asking them to re-examine eligibility for meningitis vaccines.
Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper has confirmed more than 100,000 British nationals have been flown back from the Middle East as the war in Iran enters its third week. The escalating conflict has triggered widespread disruption across the region, including airspace closures and rising fears of further strikes. Well, we're also just hearing some breaking news from the United States that Donald Trump's top counter-terrorism official has resigned over the war, saying, I quote, "No imminent threat was posed to the United States by Iran." In a letter posted online, Joe Kent said, "I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran," claiming that the conflict was driven, he said, by pressure from Israel in a rare public break from the Trump administration. Here, Rachel Reeves has pledged to make Britain the fastest adopter of artificial intelligence in the G7 as she sets out plans to revive the UK's flatlining economy. In a major speech in London today, the Chancellor has outlined 3 priorities for the next decade: expanding AI and new technology, strengthening ties with the EU and delivering growth across the country. She's also announced £2.5 billion for advanced computing, including a £1 billion programme to develop cutting-edge quantum computers. Rachel Reeves says Britain must chart its own course in the global AI race, but critics warn closer ties risk reopening Brexit divisions. The cost of fixing pothole-damaged roads across England and Wales has reached a record £18.6 billion, according to a new report. They've called the situation a national disgrace. Research by the Asphalt Industry Alliance found only 51% of local roads are in a good condition, with surfaces now being fully resurfaced on average once every 97 years. Although 1.9 million potholes were filled last year, campaigners warn the scale of the problem is still growing. The report also estimates it would take 12 years and billions of pounds in investment to bring the network back to standard. And train passengers using railcard discounts could soon face extra checks under government plans to crack down on fare dodging. From this summer, travellers buying discounted tickets at machines may need to scan their railcard or enter its details before purchasing tickets. Ministers say the new validation system could save around £20 million a year in lost revenue. The government is also tightening refund rules for flexible tickets and promising faster compensation for delays as part of wider reforms under Great British Railways. Those are the 2 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you in around 23 minutes' time.
Thank you very much for that, Sam. Never mind all these big news stories you're sharing with us there.
It's
Beano. Cliff has got in touch. If you don't know what we're talking about, you missed it all. The Beano 75th anniversary. I was talking about Pie Face. Cliff, he's got in touch and said, Michelle, you don't know what you're talking about. The Pie Face was the Bash Street Kids. Well, another trip down memory lane there, Cliff, Bash Street Kids. But I hate to break it to you, my friend, you're wrong. You're wrong. He wasn't. He was not a Bash Street Kid.
What we're looking at here is a Telegraph, page 3. The Beano is calling on Prince Louis to help mark 75 years of mischief. They want the young prince to get involved, help promote it amid the anniversary. Now, of the 1,000 children surveyed about this, aged 6 to 12, they chose the 75 candidates after being provided with a list of high-profile people who embody creativity, humour and imagination, and they were qualities that the Beano said were best associated with the great mischief maker. Prince Harry came in at number 24, Prince George at 29, Princess Charlotte 38, and the Monarch in spot 54.
Well, there you go.
Curious.
Well, I'll give a shout out, actually. Joseph, Sylvia, Marla, Karen, Gordon, Alan, William, Dan, Andrew, you're all getting in touch, Rob, and telling me, again, my thing about Pieface, you're telling me it's Desperate Dan. It's not Desperate Dan, I promise you. There was a person called Pieface. My memory is terrible. I am known to get things a bit higgledy-piggledy, but I'm almost certain, I would almost bet, I don't know what I'd bet, a pint of Guinness that I'm right
that you're not
on
gonna
this
drink.
one.
Cool.
Anyway, well, yeah.
Do you think that Prince Louis is
if
more...
If I lost a bet, I would.
Of course, that's an honourable thing to do. Is Prince Louis more mischievous than Michelle?
I absolutely love Prince Louis, but I do worry that as he's getting older, he seems to be just getting a little bit more subdued, because you could always count on him, couldn't you? Whenever there was a royal going on, you always was like, where is he? What's he doing? Where's his tongue? It was normally sticking out, and it was just
silly.
Yeah, and
now
he's getting a bit calmer as he gets older.
Princely, quite serious. Good
He
for him.
is. Yeah, he is.
Right, we should check in with Will Godley now, our national reporter, because we're going to get an update on the UK Health Security Agency's stance on this meningitis outbreak in Kent. Will Godley, what can you tell us?
Well, Charlie, Michelle, we know this afternoon that they have confirmed the number of confirmed cases of meningitis has risen by 2. There are now 15 confirmed cases in this outbreak. And let's have a look at the epicentre of this outbreak. This is Canterbury here, and the UK Health Security Agency saying a number of the confirmed cases became ill after attending the Chemistry nightclub, a popular nightclub with students and young people in Canterbury. And the people who became ill attended that nightclub between the 5th and 7th of March. And today, the health authorities urging anybody else who was at the nightclub between those dates to come forward for an emergency preventative antibiotic in a bid to try and contain this outbreak. We've also heard from the Health Secretary this afternoon, who's announced that a targeted vaccine rollout will begin here at the University of Kent in Canterbury. That's after one student there sadly died as a result of this outbreak, and a number of others are in hospital in a very serious condition. And that targeted vaccine rollout is for the meningitis B strain, which a number of these cases, 4 of them in fact, are confirmed to be. That's going to begin in the coming few days as the UK Health Security Agency continues to monitor this outbreak. Of course, we're seeing scenes at the university there today as people continue to come forward for antibiotics. Not just people who live on campus, but anybody who's been in close contact with anybody who has symptoms. We also know a number of schools also have confirmed they have had students with meningitis at their schools. Let's have a look at where they are, because it's not just Canterbury affected. We've also got a school in Faversham and Ashford as well. And of course, that school in Faversham, the Queen Elizabeth Grammar School, very sadly had a Year 13 student called Juliet who died as a result of this outbreak.
Thank you very much, Will Godley. Right, let's cross over now to our health and science editor, Lucy Johnson, who joins us here in the studio. You've had that update there from Will, Lucy. What can you tell us about the potential causes of the outbreak? And is there any significance to the location, this being in Kent?
Well, I don't know about Kent, but I've been speaking to experts just today, and it's still not known why this outbreak is spreading so fast and affecting so many people. It's quite unusual, not unprecedented, but it is unusual to spread so fast. And it could be to do with just a set of coincidences that there was a particularly virulent strain in a nightclub where young people were sharing drinks, vapes even, or any saliva exchange is putting people at risk. It could be that this particular strain is particularly nasty or spreads a bit more. There are lots of different types of meningitis bacteria, and at the moment there will be experts working against the clock to try and do some genetic sequencing, which is a relatively new thing, to try and find out which particular strain it is, and that will help inform the next steps.
When I see this footage on the screen, if you're listening on the radio, basically it's queues of people standing up, some of them with masks on their face, some of them social distancing and all the rest of it. It sends a chill down my spine, because people have got muscle memory, of course, about all the goings-on in COVID. Do these things like these masks and stuff like that make a blind bit of difference in this situation?
Well, I have talked to many people about that too. This bacteria is spread through sort of very close contact. The likelihood of a mask making any difference, I think, is very tiny. And the problem is it may give a false sense of security. So you may pop a mask on, you may feel that you can go nearer to people, you may put it on and put it off. Your hands are not necessarily going to be washed, it's not necessarily being worn in the ideal way, and it may make the situation worse. So no one is advising masks are worn, and no one is suggesting that we should be socially distancing for this.
And Lucy, I know you said this wasn't unprecedented. Why do you think the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, says this is an unprecedented outbreak? Why does he use that language?
Well,
do you think he's being alarmist there?
It depends what criteria you reference. There have been clusters and outbreaks in the past, in the 90s, but that was before we had a vaccine for 4 other different types of meningitis, which has been really helpful. So we've been, the numbers of the cases have come right down. We had 2,000 odd cases in the 90s every single year. Now we have about 300 cases. But it is very unusual for it to spread so fast and for it to take 2 lives in the same area. So it's alarming, but unprecedented. Well, over 20 years ago, you know, there were cases and clusters like that. But, it's a work in progress to find out, you know, what the strain is and why it's spreading so fast.
Just when you thought you had enough to worry about with wars and you name it, along comes something else. I mean, just to get a sense of perspective here, because I don't want people to be sitting on their sofas absolutely terrified right now. I mean, how worried about this realistically should people be?
The chance of developing this is really low. And if you're not in an area and you're not in contact with this particular group, then it's not likely that you're going to develop deadly disease. And I know that the National Pharmacy Association are saying that there's been a rush on children rushing out, or young people rushing out to get vaccines to protect them against meningitis B. There's been campaigns to have a routine schedule for all teenagers to be vaccinated against meningitis B, but we don't know whether that vaccine, well, the research that's been done, government advisors have already looked at that, and they've said that it probably may not make much difference because there are so many strains and it doesn't stop people carrying this particular bacteria very well.
We saw in recent years, Lucy, a very troubling trend of a rise in tuberculosis diagnoses in England. In some cases, an 11% rise and a 13% rise. Some medics link that with mass immigration, that we had lots of people arriving from countries where tuberculosis was more prevalent. Will health officials be looking at that as a possibility with the meningitis outbreak as well? Because, as we're hearing from unprecedented from Wes Streeting, will they be looking at the migratory patterns around the university as well?
I think things can be picked up anywhere. I think a couple of years ago there was a spike in cases and that was linked to people travelling to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
So I don't know about immigration, migration. I think anything can happen and everything's plausible. But I'm sure, nothing's off the table and, health officials are working hard to try and identify the source and why this is particularly spreading so fast.
Lucy Johnston, our health and science editor, thank you very much for your time.
I know, I'm sitting here now. If you're all saying, oh, Michelle, there's war, there's disease, what can we do? Well, we've got an answer for you. You could get yourself away. That's what you could do, ladies and gents. You could enter this competition. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, worth, get this, over £92,000. That's £25,000 in tax-free cash, plus my favourite bit, your very own, your brand new full-berth camper van. There you go. Get yourself away from it all, ladies and gents. Here's your details.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. Alloy wheels, solar panel, electric step and plenty of storage space. Plus, it comfortably sleeps 4 people. It's the ultimate home from home. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free GB cash to boost your bank account this year. It's a prize package worth over £92,000 and it could be yours. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, folks. You're watching Good Afternoon Britain only on GB News, and there's lots more coming up on today's show.
A top lawyer has warned GB News that the grooming gangs inquiry could be £65 million wasted. We'll be getting to the bottom of that, but after the break.
The Chancellor has called for closer alignment with the European Union. So we're asking, is Brexit about to be betrayed? All of that and much more still to come here on Good Afternoon Britain only on GB News. See you in a minute.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 23 minutes past 2, and Rachel Reeves has vowed to form deeper ties with the EU to help drive economic growth.
Yes, indeed. She's just been doing her mayor's lecture, and in that speech, the Chancellor also criticised the impact of Brexit. Take a listen.
Brexit created profound uncertainty, raised new barriers to trade,
and leaves Britain facing an additional danger today. The risk that we find ourselves stranded between powerful trading blocs as globalisation retreats.
So we're asking, is the Chancellor betraying Brexit by attempting to forge a closer relationship with Brussels?
Well, we're joined now by security expert and a former MEP, Henry Bolton, and the former Liberal Democrats advisor, Pablo Ohana. Let me start with you, Henry. Is she betraying the great Brexit promise?
I think the great Brexit promise has been betrayed by a number of people over a long period of time, ever since the referendum. From the point of the referendum, there should have been detailed planning drawn up to deal with this, to the transition of what happens once we actually leave the European Union. That wasn't done by government, that wasn't done by the Leave campaign. Despite lots of warnings and pleas that that be done, it wasn't done. And now we've got a government, as actually I warned at the time, is ideologically orientated towards multilateralism, that is ideologically, well, not even ideologically, it is simply lacking in vision, initiative and leadership, and as a result has a natural inclination to join groupthink. And where's the nearest group? It's in Brussels. And so there is an orientation that way, there always has been, and the whole thing has been, if you like, facilitated by the lack of a plan at the beginning. But where the Chancellor is going now, I think, is also to try and get out of a very difficult economic situation of her own making. But I can tell the Chancellor that if she starts to now, after Brexit, companies have reorientated their supply chains. Trading patterns have changed. We've realigned to a different global perspective. We've now got the CPTT. We've got the various independent or the unilateral, bilateral rather, trade agreements that we've signed. You cannot turn around and keep asking a £2 trillion pound economy to keep repivoting. And if for investors, all this says is that Britain is still undecided, still has no vision, still has no direction, still has no leadership. And of course, that's the last thing that capital investors want, is that sort of uncertainty. Okay. What's happening, I think, is that weakness of leadership, that ideological drive, and what we've got is a political inability to make decisions. Okay, it's Pablo, being dressed up as pragmatism to get the present government off the hook.
Let's bring in Pablo Ohana. Pablo, your reaction to that. Do you think that this is another example of weak leadership, drawing British business in another direction after just spending 10 years getting ready for something else?
Well, I actually agree with a lot of what was just said there, because it is true that the Leave campaign put forward no plan for what life outside the EU would look like. And that really is the big problem here, is that I'm not actually sure what there is to betray. So we're talking about whether Brexit's been betrayed. I mean, it's done so much damage. It hasn't worked out for anybody. I'm not really sure that anyone will see aligning ourselves a bit closer as a betrayal. I mean, we already know that leaving the EU has cost our country £1 million per hour. It's already cost our economy more in lost trade and increased prices in the 6 years we've been out of the EU than our entire contributions in the nearly 50 years we were in it. So that means, you know, our weekly shops are now £250 more than they should be as a direct result of leaving the EU. So if we have to align ourselves a little bit closer to the EU, which honestly we already are, we are a European country, we already have similar standards. You know, we talked previously in another segment about American versus EU trade. In America, they allow 10,000 additives and preservatives in their food. In the UK and EU, we permit under 300 because we're actually quite similar in terms of standards like that. So it's not that much of a step or that much of a stretch to just get a bit closer to the EU, and it is the simplest and easiest lever for the Chancellor to pull to do something to our economy.
But hold on though, Pablo, because a lot of these viewers watching and listening to you tonight, when you're just kind of saying, you know, it's just a small lever to pull to get closer, it might be a small lever to you to pull, you know, as someone that believes in remaining within the EU. But for many people in this country, actually voting in that referendum was in some cases the first time, actually, that they'd turned out to involve themselves in a democratic mandate in this way. It was a huge democratic mandate. And actually, to you, what might feel like we'll just get a little bit closer, come on, closer we get. That will feel like a monumental betrayal to those people that voted in that way.
Well, you know, you raise an incredibly important point there, which is that huge swathes of this country are just ignored in the political system. It just doesn't matter how they vote because they'll always get the same MP, they'll get the same party. We have a voting system and a democracy that is designed to block out huge parts of this country. And that referendum was the first, and in some people's case, the only time in their life that their vote actually meant something. So I think it's actually really important what you're saying, that it is not about undoing that decision, and it is not about making people feel as though that vote didn't matter. That vote did matter, but we should have, to your point, a system where everyone's vote counts all the time, rather than just kind of one-off times when maybe we'll you know, it'll mean something this time, but it won't next time. If we actually had a system where people could vote and it meant something, then they would be able to express those opinions in every election rather than just once in a life.
Before we bid you farewell?
Yeah, Henry, very quickly, and specifically on that, Henry Bolton, could you tell me what you think is an unacceptable realignment with the EU, and are there elements that you would welcome? We know we're hearing a lot about the Erasmus student scheme at the moment.
Yeah, look, I absolutely, and right from the beginning, I was an avid Brexit campaigner, and I always said, though, that we need to retain, build, improve our collaboration with our European allies and friends on matters of common interest. What we must not and cannot ever do, in my view, is to relinquish our sovereignty to a supranational authority that issues us directives that we have little or no say over. And it's I worked for 3 years in the European Commission. I worked supporting heads of government meetings. And I can tell you, it's an utter and complete falsehood to say that we actually had, you know, the ability to shape that in any meaningful way. So we were rule takers. We would be even more so now. But what's not being calculated in that argument we've just heard is what is the cost if we were to reorientate, realign, for example, going to the customs union? What would be the cost of all of that realignment to the British economy, to British businesses? What are the additional bandwidth of government that's got to be taken up in re-amending legislation, rewriting legislation again? It would be massive. It would be hugely complicated, and we've got a plethora of very serious issues that we need to deal with now. The answer is to develop that plan now with clarity of vision that people, frankly, who are ideologically opposed to this in the first place, refused to do in the beginning.
OK, Henry Bolton and Pablo Ohana, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Thank you, both of you.
Oh, many of you will be screaming about that debate because many of you will have voted for Brexit. Your primary reason, well, of course, will be because you wanted control of immigration. What's actually happened is the absolute opposite. Of course, it's one of the biggest betrayals of British people that I certainly can remember, and I know many of you will agree with that as well. Anyway, look, we've got so much coming up on today's show.
Because it's not just Ireland celebrating St Patrick's Day, we'll also be crossing to Aldershot, where a very special guest has joined the celebrations. Might be a royal guest there, I think, Michelle.
Ooh.
All of that and much more to come after your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 2:30, the headlines this hour. The Health Secretary says the Kent meningitis outbreak is unprecedented and rapidly developing as cases rise to 15. 4 are confirmed as meningitis B, a rare and potentially deadly strain not routinely covered for many students. A target vaccination programme is now being rolled out at the University of Kent alongside precautionary antibiotics for close contacts. Israel's defence minister says one of Iran's most powerful figures, Ali Larijani, has been killed in overnight strikes. Larijani was a key architect of Iran's security and nuclear strategy, one of the most significant blows to Iran's leadership since the war began. Iran, though, has not verified the deaths. Rachel Reeves has pledged to make Britain the fastest adopter of artificial intelligence in the G7 as she unveils a plan to boost the UK's struggling economy. In a major speech, the Chancellor announced £2.5 billion for advanced computing and set out priorities including closer EU ties, AI expansion and growth across the country. And the cost of fixing pothole-plagued roads in England and Wales has reached a record £18.6 billion. Campaigners are calling the situation a national disgrace. A new report says roads are resurfaced on average once every 97 years, with just over half the network considered to be in good condition. Those are the headlines. I'll be back with... No, I won't. Tatiana Sanchez will be back with you at 3.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you
Sam.
very much for that, Sam. I'm cutting in because I'm going to cut in, and I'll tell you why I'm cutting in, ladies and gents. He's trying to change the subject. I'm not having any of it. Please get in touch because I really want to see Charlie Peters doing an Irish jig for St Patrick's Day. He's having absolutely none of it. Louise, the viewer, thinks I'm bullying him. I think Louise needs to toughen up a little bit, and so does he. If you want to see him, we ain't got much time left, you know. If you want to see him do an Irish jig, do get in touch and tell us, please. Try and help me convince him.
After the break, we'll be going to what I came in to do for work today. That's because a top lawyer has warned GB News that the grooming gang's inquiry could be a waste of £65 million due to concerns that he has about how the investigations will be organised. I can't wait to bring you that story, all of that and much more to come after the break. You're watching GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a blustery day out there, particularly for the far northwest, where there will be outbreaks of occasionally heavy rain. Meanwhile, winds begin to ease elsewhere. The cloud breaks up. We'll see decent spells of sunshine for the southern half of the UK. At the moment, we're in between a warm front and a cold front. For many parts of the UK, that means it's dry and it's mild with a southerly breeze. That's helping to break up the cloud across England and Wales, away from coastal areas predominantly. Plenty of sunshine then emerging. Scotland and Northern Ireland, a different story. Here it's windy and a lot of cloud will remain. Will also be these heavy spells of rain pushing into the west of Scotland, western parts of Northern Ireland, making it feel unpleasant with a strong wind in these locations. Further south, temperatures responding well to the sunshine with mid-teens fairly widely. The rain remains in place into the evening across much of western Scotland, fringing upon central parts of Scotland, not quite reaching Glasgow and Edinburgh, but it's starting to affect parts of Northern Ireland towards the east, Belfast included. Areas of cloud into parts of Wales and the far southwest. Otherwise, it's clear spells across the Midlands, the east and southeast of England, and that remains the case overnight. It's going to be a chilly night as a result, with winds easing, and as temperatures fall away, some mist and fog patches will form for large parts of England and Wales. Clearer skies as well for the north of Scotland, but in between we've got this area of cloud, the legacy of the weather front that is bringing the wet weather to the northwest during Tuesday. That's going to remain across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland throughout much of Wednesday. A few spots of rain, but it's a weakening feature. To the north, a lot of sunshine, just the odd shower, and across much of England and Wales, it's a beautiful day. Spring sunshine widely, temperatures reaching 18 to 20 Celsius.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A55 at Britannia Bridge, a 30 miles per hour speed restriction remains in place until further notice due to ongoing maintenance work. In Nottinghamshire, the M1 southbound is slow between junction 27 and junction 26 after a crash, with 3 out of 4 lanes currently closed. Expect delays while recovery efforts continue, with conditions anticipated to improve from around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Additionally, on the trains, both Avanti West Coast and Cross Country are reporting major disruption at Glasgow Central, so please check before you travel. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. You're watching Good Afternoon Britain. We have just a bit of breaking news to bring you first. We've just heard from the MOD giving an update on British operations in the Middle East. They're saying that overnight, one of the ground-based counter-drone units took out the largest number of drones in a single night since the conflict began. They didn't give an indication of where that unit was. We know that ground-based counter-drone units, we had them in Saudi Arabia and, of course, in Iran. I'd say it's more likely to be in Iraq, where we saw loads of attacks last night, even in Baghdad on the US Embassy there. But that update just coming into us from the British Ministry of Defence.
And also, many of you will remember that extraordinary leak that went to The Spectator, the National Security Council. It was all about whether or not the likes of Ed Miliband had basically pressured Keir Starmer to not let America use that base when it comes to that initial attack. Well, now we can confirm that there is now an official inquiry taking place into this leak. The government says all unauthorised disclosures of government information are damaging. Unauthorised disclosures such as this, which come from the National Security Council or which involve national security material, are more deeply damaging still, since they undermine the effective functioning of our most critical national security and intelligence machinery. So let's watch this space.
Right, 39 minutes past 2, and it's a GB News exclusive now because top abuse lawyer David Greenwood has warned the channel that the grooming gangs inquiry could be £65 million wasted if the government does not get their hands off it and allow the investigation to be guided by the evidence. He spoke to me last week. Here's his warning.
What would be your message to those in government, those in the Home Office, those working on this inquiry? At the stage it's at now, for waiting for those terms of reference, what is your message to them to make sure they get this right?
Well, we're already seeing it, aren't we? The terms of reference include the government having a say in which towns and cities have a deep dive investigation into their failings. So that's already happening. That shouldn't happen.
They might choose places they don't want to lose votes.
Exactly. First of all, that must stop. That can't be part of the terms of reference.
Particularly as there's a growing concern about sectarian voting in this country. You can very easily see how political advisors will get very cautious about an investigation into a crime which has an overrepresentation from specific communities.
Yep. So that's the first thing on the terms of reference. That's a specific. And secondly, my advice to the government is to get their hands off it. Let it be run by the Secretariat that is going to be controlling the inquiry, and let it be run by the panel and its lawyers, because they will be able to guide the evidence. They will be able to use their nous to work out exactly what's been going wrong, what they should investigate, and what they should spend their time and taxpayers' money on.
And if the government doesn't get their hands off it, if they don't take your advice, what will happen?
It's going to be 65 million quid wasted.
We don't want to see that, do we? Well, we're joined now by the father of a grooming gang victim, Marlon West, great campaigner and, I have to say, a dear friend. Marlon, thank you very much for speaking to us this afternoon. As it stands in the terms of reference, the draft terms of reference, they talk about the government and the inquiry team setting the criteria on where the investigations go. Does that concern you as it does David Greenwood?
Hi, Charlie. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I've said this before, it's appalling. This inquiry, which we've waited so long for, has to be independent. It should be non-political, just so it's factual information we're looking at, and there's no wavering. Otherwise, it's going to be a whitewash. I completely agree with David. If this isn't done right, what a waste of money.
Now, Marlon, when I was speaking to David, he said that one of the concerns people might have is this fear that if there is any political involvement whatsoever, it could lead to fears about sectarian voting, preventing some investigations. I know you're from Greater Manchester. We've had a recent controversial by-election in that area. Is that a concern you share as well? We have seen nervousness about ethnicity and culture in the past. Are you worried that that might affect this inquiry as well?
Yeah, definitely. I actually think that's what's going to happen, and it shouldn't be. It should be, I'll repeat myself again, it should be non-political. This is about the survivors and family, and that should be paramount.
Listening to you, many of our viewers, will have this same sentiment. It's just so depressing and devastating that you're having to fight for so long, so hard to get justice, not just for your loved one, but all the other people that have been affected by this as well. Do you actually believe, in your heart of hearts, Marlon, that this government, or anyone actually, is taking this as seriously as it deserves to be?
Not at all. And again, we've been fighting for this for so long, and we're just all, I speak to so many other parents and so many survivors, and we're all really just so upset and disappointed. At the end of the day, these are little girls who are being raped across the country, and nobody is acknowledging it.
And Marlon, when we are looking at this inquiry, Section 5.6 of the draft terms of reference says that it will not be exhaustive. It won't look at every area where grooming gangs have operated. Do you worry that that means it won't? I'm sorry.
Yeah, please just ponder that question, because I do just need to interrupt. We'll come back to you, Marlon. I need to take you live to Downing Street, Ukraine. President Zelensky has arrived. Of course, people have been waiting for this. Many people very concerned and still very passionate about helping get a resolution in Ukraine. Of course, that has now been pushed somewhat down the news agenda by all the goings-on in the Middle East and Iran, etc. We've seen announcements today about new military partnerships between Britain and Ukraine, the funding of new AI centres and things like that. They are going into number 10 as we speak, and I think we'll be hearing from Zelensky a bit later on this afternoon. But for now, let's return to this very, very important topic that, frankly, gets interrupted a little bit too often.
Yeah, sorry, Marlon. Just going back to that previous point, the Section 5.6 of the draft terms of reference talks about how it won't be exhaustive. It won't go to every area. Are you worried that there's going to be a bit of a postcode lottery when it comes to which sections get an investigation? We know Oldham is guaranteed. There's some talk about Bradford. You're from Tameside. How confident are you that will be investigated? What's the feeling among families that you speak to, other survivors, their perspectives on that particular element?
Again, I'll repeat myself. It will be a whitewash. Yes, I live in Tameside, which neighbours Oldham, and in my experience, there's a lot of crossover between Tameside and Oldham, but my local council and social services won't even discuss it with me. So the chances of us getting an inquiry in Tameside is very limited. And I think this will happen across the country. We've had an ICSA. We don't need another ICSA. We need a proper, comprehensive, non-political inquiry with every single area where it's been noted, this grooming.
OK, well, Marlon West, that would be perhaps almost 100 areas, at least 85 local authorities involved in this issue. But Marlon West, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I'll speak to you later.
It's just soul-destroying. Can you imagine that your daughter, your granddaughter, your nieces, whoever it is, imagine
or
that's
your son
your,
as well. A lot of boys
your
involved
family
in this
member
as well.
having to fight like this constantly. You do great work as well in this space, Charlie, so credit to you as well. I just think it's absolutely appalling that we let these families down in this way.
Well, they've got this inquiry. This inquiry could change a lot if it's done the right way, but you've heard what David is concerned about, and Marlon as well. They want to make sure the inquiry has that power to go where it needs to go, and that the government isn't involved in setting the criteria. We will wait for the full terms of reference to come out.
Are you waiting optimistically? Honestly?
I'm waiting. All right, well, let's see what the Home Office said. A spokesperson said that the sexual exploitation and abuse of children, including by grooming gangs, are among the most horrific crimes imaginable. Decisions on which areas will be subject to investigations by the inquiry are solely a matter for the chair. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News.
We'll be joined by our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, as the Princess of Wales joins the St Patrick's Day celebrations. Don't go anywhere.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Some stormy weather for the next couple of days for the Azores, Madeira, an area of low pressure bringing wet and windy conditions. Also for the Canaries, we'll see some showery rain moving through. Pretty blustery also for the Algarve. Much of the east coast of Spain, dry, fine and sunny. Plenty of sunshine for Mallorca and Ibiza. Some heavy rain for southern parts of Italy. Big showers across Greece as well. Quite gusty winds here also. Those showers will steadily fade for Santorini as we head towards the weekend. We'll keep some showers in Tenerife.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay. Because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker is at the parade for us in Aldershot. Cameron, tell us more.
Well, Michelle, happy St Patrick's Day from Mons Barracks in Aldershot, where the Irish Guards have been celebrating the day with a magnificent parade. They are also celebrating 125 years of the regiment this year, but their Royal Colonel, the Princess of Wales, was here to be part of the action. She presented the traditional shamrocks to the officers and the guardsmen, but perhaps most importantly, she also gave the shamrock to the Irish Wolfhound Seamus, which is the regimental mascot. I spoke to his handler just after the parade, and this is what he told me.
She remembered me from last year. She basically asked how he's doing. It's lovely to see him as always. He's fit, he's healthy. She wanted to know how healthy he is, and she always loves saying hello to Seamus.
We have the ceremonial foot guards, that's the people with the big bearskin hats and the red tunics on display, but also 1st Battalion Irish Guards. They are on operational duties. 13 countries they have visited in the last 12 months. They've been mainly training Ukrainian soldiers, but now they're moving on to drone warfare, of course, particularly important at the moment given what is going on in the Middle East. The Princess also presented long service medals and good conduct medals to a number of the soldiers and met the families who were here today to celebrate with their soldiers.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Cameron Walker. Looking forward to what else you pick up later in the afternoon. That was great, wasn't it?
It was. But look, you know what? We've almost reached the end of the programme, right? And we can't leave without two things. First of all, I want to say thank you to my people. I found you. I've been going on about Pie Face, Leslie Jane, Alan, Susan, Paul, Mitchell and Sue, Trevor, Linda, Anita, Enid, Jennifer, Lisa. Sorry if I've missed you out. You are my people. I'll get into the St Patrick's Day spirit. I'll say cheers and have a Guinness. Are you going to get into the spirit and do your Irish jig or what?
I'll get my drink after this, but there'll be no jigging from me on the telly. For now, that could change another time. She ambushed me with that one. There could be some practice. We'll do it together.
Revolting.
Weather's next. Martin's after that. Stay around.
Oh, I'll see you at...
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Whilst rain and wind continue in the far northwest at the moment, it is beautiful elsewhere, increasingly dry and sunny for many parts of England and Wales, eastern parts of Scotland as well, seeing some cloud breaks. And really it's just this cold front that is still providing outbreaks of rain and a strong wind, and that will tend to sink southeastwards ever so slowly overnight, reaching central parts of Scotland, eastern parts of Northern Ireland, spilling some cloud into northern England, but clearing the skies across the north of Scotland. One or two showers here, otherwise clear spells, leading to a colder night for many of us. Temperatures down into the middle or even low single figures in places. Mist and fog forming across parts of England and Wales where we've got those clear skies. But that won't last long during the morning. It will soon lift, leading to beautiful blue skies developing from around 8 or 9 a.m. across this large part of England and Wales. I think for Cumbria northwards, into southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, this is where the front comes to a rest. But with high pressure building in on top of the UK, that front's going to be squeezed and it's going to weaken considerably. So, yeah, an area of cloud, but mostly just light outbreaks of rain at this stage. And northern Scotland seeing a much sunnier day compared with Tuesday, and the south of the UK also barely a cloud in sight. That means temperatures will do well. It may have been a fresh start, but temperatures rapidly rising through the day, and we're looking at highs widely of 18 to 20 Celsius, perhaps a touch more in some of the warmest spots, most likely western parts of Wales. Not so warm across Scotland and Northern Ireland, where we do have this lingering cloud, and that tends to shift northwards again into Wednesday night, and it will stick around for parts of northern and eastern Scotland on Thursday. Sunny skies elsewhere, not quite as warm, but plenty of sunshine into the weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could be the proud owner of a brand new Benivan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, and is worth over £67,000. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on